My name is Brandon Isaac, also known as the Speed Architect. So I am a high school track and field coach. Mostly, I focus on sprint hurdles and relays. I also have my own club team, Team Charlotte Premier, and I also do private speed and agility training for all different sports: track and field, football, baseball, basketball, lacrosse. So I do all types of different sports. Types of methods I use for training: we did a lot of hills, sleds, sprint work, explosive training in the weight room, different type of agility, plyometrics. A lot of different methods are used to get kids faster. And so using the T Apex, it helped us to essentially level up our training. So with sleds, the resistance can be, you can kind of ride the wave of momentum that is created when you use a sled. But when you use a T Apex, the resistance stays consistent for the entire duration of the sprint. So if you go in 10, 15, 20, as far as the box will take you, the resistance stays the same for every single step. And it forces the athlete to engage more muscle groups, to stay focused on their acceleration patterns or their deceleration patterns, or whatever the exercise is that you have them doing. It forces them to stay engaged in that exercise for the duration of whatever you have them doing. So I like the T Apex because it forces the athletes to get out of either being lazy or forces them out of some bad habits to make better corrections. Personal goals or training philosophy. So personal goals is to try to correct as many mistakes as we can, try to get the runners as efficient as possible. And using the T Apex, like I said before, it forces them to get out of being lazy, to engage more muscle groups, to stay focused on the task that we have. And it also helps them get into certain positions better because you have to engage your glutes more, or your hips more, or you have to engage a lot more muscle groups to kind of put the power down or to generate the force in the spots that you need it. So how do I integrate the T Apex into our daily routine? So being a primarily a track and field coach or a sprint coach or a speed coach, we use the T Apex a lot to get the hips into the right position. So if you know anything about sprinting or acceleration, you're supposed to fire proximal to distal, which is the bigger joints fire first. And oftentimes I see like kids that they just don't know how to run. They don't know how to engage their glutes. They don't know how to engage their hips. They don't know how to push off or take off. So using the T Apex allows for them to, while giving them certain cues to sprint, it helps them get a better feeling of what they should be doing when they start sprinting. You can kind of achieve the same thing with sleds or tires or things like that, but with the T Apex, you can use the data to make those improvements. So if you cue a kid or an adult the right way, and they make the necessary corrections, they might not know how to do it, or they might not understand how it feels until you can provide the data points for what they need. So say like if they generate a lot of power on one of their acceleration phases, but they don't do it on the next one, you can see what step is off, what imbalances are off. So you can make the necessary corrections in real time using a tablet that comes with the T Apex. So it helps establish a baseline for our athletes, and it can help you set a better roadmap for determining what milestones need to be reached, when they can be reached, when they have been reached. It kind of helps you develop a better blueprint for how you're going to make your athletes faster. So a typical training day for us using a T Apex, so we go through our warm-ups, but once we start using a T Apex, it's mostly for acceleration drills. Typical sprint day, we might do a couple 30s on the box, or a couple 40s, 40-meter sprints, or a couple 50-meter sprints, depending on what we need to do. The feature that I like the most on it is the variable change resistance, where you can either set it by velocity or distance. So if we're doing later on in the season, as we progress, getting closer to championships and stuff, we'll do the variable change resistance, where I set the resistance to change at 30 meters. So it'll be super heavy for the first 30 meters. Then it either drops by 30% or 50% to kind of it's basically like a contrast sprint within the sprint. So you start out heavy to really build that acceleration power, generate that power. And then once they get to 30 meters, it drops down to kind of help them make that transition into their sprints. So I really like that feature of it. The benefits that the T-Apex compared to traditional methods. So the T-Apex, it allows you to collect a lot more data and a lot more data points, so you can build better force velocity profiles. You can look at historical data, kind of see what trends that the athletes might have, the overspeed portion of it. So instead of having to tow the athletes myself, we can use the T-Apex, so I can go through, a larger group without necessarily tiring myself out. And it's the exact same speed that they're being pulled every single time. So typically with some other overspeed devices, if I'm the one that's pulling them, I might get tired, so I might not pull them as hard on the second, third, or fourth rep. And if I got, 5, 6, 8 kids, then it can become very tiresome after 1 or 2 reps. But with the overspeed component of the T-Apex, I can set I can dial it into whatever I need for each athlete. So with girls and boys, there's different requirements for doing overspeed. So I don't have to use the same method for each person. I can customize each rep for each person. So based on height and weight, they can get a specialized rep for themselves that'll help them get faster for whatever we need them to get faster for. And then like I said, the variable resistance is really good for setting up race modeling. So once we get into outdoor, then we can change resistance at 50 or 60 meters kind of after they hit max velocity, and they start to, if we notice that they start to decelerate sooner than we would like, then we can set the resistance to change at different spots in their race modeling and practice, so they get used to decelerating, or they can kind of change their velocity pitch later on in the race, so they would get used to doing that. So that's a really big advantage, using overspeed and the variable change resistance. Those two components of the T-Apex are some of the best that I've used, and it saves my back. And then the real-time data feedback while they're doing a rep. If you can notice the charts and the graphs on the screen as they're going. So say like if they favor one side more than the other, then you can see where the imbalances are. So it really confirms what you may or may not be seeing. So if you see somebody kind of overloading their right side, if you look at the graph, you can see where say it's their right foot, you can see where their right foot is landing, and kind of make those corrections. So you can cue them to be like, hey, I need you up tall more. I need you to balance out your steps, or stop reaching, or stop dipping, or stop favoring that side. And then you can show them on the tablet what the data looks like when you see those kind of imperfections and what they're doing. Resistance, hold on. Why did you choose have you tried other products? Kind of went through that with the overspeed. Resistance training mode. How is this enhanced strength and endurance? Man, the resistance is awesome, man. So we can go, I think we can go up to, 20 kg on that. I think so regular resistance mode I love it because the box goes out to 120 meters. So just the other day we were doing 90 meter sprints with, I think 5 or 6 kg. I think it could go up to 10 kg or maybe a little higher going out that far. So if you don't have hills, or you kind of live in a flat area, or you can't, so if you live in an area that doesn't have any hills, or is really flat, the resistance and the length of the resistance, or the length of the cord that the box can go out to, it kind of simulates a hill. So you can, we did some 90s the other day, and we can go, I think we had them on like 5 or 6, but we probably could have went to like 10 or 12, all the way out to 120 meters. So if you're looking to do like, 110, 120 meter hills, the resistance level is sufficient enough for you to do that. So the resistance love it. And then the variable change resistance is really, really good for race modeling, and kind of setting up different acceleration zones, and trying to kind of helping figure out, or extending where the deceleration happens at. So instead of it happening at 50 meters, then if you train well enough, then you can kind of extend it out to 60 or 70 meters if you do it right. So, and like I said, with the sleds, you can ride the momentum of sleds, but with this one, you can't be lazy. You can't take any steps off. You got to keep your hips and glutes and hip flexors engaged for the entire duration of that exercise. And with overspeed, since it's so consistent, and once you set it for that particular person, it stays consistent for every single rep, and you'll know what your athletes are doing or what they're not doing every single rep, because the machine is going to pull them at the exact speed that you set it. And another thing with the overspeed is you can set the zones. You can set the different zones. Well, you can set zones to change incrementally in the overspeed. So kind of it can force adaptation within the overspeed. So say like if you want to incrementally increase the speed that is being pulled by 0.2 meters per second. So if I want somebody to finish at 10.1 meters per second, but I don't want them to start that fast, I can set it at say like 9.3. At 10, after 10 meters, it goes up to 9.5. After 20 meters, it goes up to 9.7, essentially up to 10.1. So if you want them to gradually increase to 10.1, you can set it at 5, 10, or 15 meter increments to pull them up to that speed. So they don't necessarily have to adapt to it right away, but if they get fast enough, then they can make that adaptation within that overspeed rep. And then the data tracking and analysis, the reports that it generates are top notch. The new reports have 5, 10, 15 meter intervals. So you can see what their 5 meter splits are. You can see what their 10 meter splits are. You can see what the total rep time is. It generates a PDF sheet with all the charts, all the graphs, all the metrics within that one sheet. And if you want to go deeper into the data analysis, it generates an Excel spreadsheet that, since the unit does pretty much 1,000 calculations per minute or per second, you can see like the Excel file that it generates. It creates hundreds of data points, so you can kind of see where everything is going on, their acceleration patterns when they step down, the force that they generate. So it creates a lot of data for people that like to create different types of reports, or if you're looking at different metrics or data points that you need to help get your athletes faster. The feature that is most beneficial is both. So the feature that I find most beneficial is overspeed and resistance. Well, the variable change resistance, because like I said, with the variable change, you can do better race modeling, and then with overspeed helps with the adaptation, or helps getting them faster, so they know what they can get a better feeling, a better consistent feeling of going faster than what they normally go. And then once you do that enough, they kind of feel what it feels like, then they get used to that, and then they can start going faster. How has T-Apex impacted your key abilities, strength, agility, speed, endurance? Those performance improvements, you can usually see an improvement during the first session, but typically you see sustained results by the third and fourth session. So the longer you use it, the more you'll see the results. And then you can fix a lot of things with the T-Apex. You can generally fix acceleration patterns, hip movement, glute engagement, because it forces, like I said, it forces the athlete to not be lazy. You got to work through a lot of different muscle groups, or engage a lot of different muscle groups to get through the acceleration patterns that you need. So you can't be lazy, and you can't take any steps off, because it forces so much engagement. And overall, once you get used to engaging all those muscle groups, core muscle groups and all that, it transitions very well, because you're so used to doing all that. Once you come off of it, it's like being shot out of a rocket. In what ways has T-Apex provided a different and more effective approach to improving these skills compared to the traditional methods? Like I said, with the data analysis, you can see where people are taking plays off or taking reps off. So if you're looking at the data in real time on the tablet, you can see and then you can make mention to the athlete, hey, I noticed your power output was down on this rep. you're going to have to accelerate a little harder on these first 3 steps. Or I noticed there was a big drop off once you got to 10 meters or 15 meters, or you hit max velocity sooner on the last rep than you did before, which signifies they could be popping up, or they're not accelerating as hard, or they're spinning their wheels, so they're getting to max velocity at a shorter distance when you want to prolong it. So looking at the data in real time, it helps you make those corrections in real time. And it's not just, I feel like you're doing this, or I feel like you're doing that. No, I saw you doing this, and this is what the data is showing me. So you got to fix it before you get to this point. So it can give you definitive perspectives on what the athlete needs to fix or correct or change in real time. So you can, instead of having to go look at video or wait till you get home to look at some different things, even if you don't have a camera, you can see the data in real time and tell them where they need to change in real time just by looking at the data. Ease of use, it's very easy to use. The tablet, the program is right there. Once you click on the program, you can set up, the different profiles, and then you can navigate through different profiles within the rep without necessarily having to come out, find another person. You can find another person within that rep. And then once that person goes, then you can go to the next person, and then you can see all of those different reports within the rep without necessarily having to come back out and look through a bunch of data. It's all right there within the rep. So by being able to do that, then I can quickly glance at, whatever athlete just went. I can make a comparative analysis between 2 or 3 different reps while another athlete is going. So being able to see all the data right away is a game changer, because now if you got 10 or 15 athletes, then you don't necessarily have to come out of it and then rummage through a lot of data. You can see it within that. Hey, I noticed you didn't do this and this on the last 3 reps, so focus on this the next time you come out. So it kind of helps elevate your coaching ability if you know how to look at the data. How do I rate T-Apex's portability and overall ease of use during training? Portability is great, man. The handle that comes with it slides right up. You can either leave the weight on there or take it off. It has wheels on it, so you can pretty much take it wherever you need to take it. You can take the battery out. You can take the handle off. So it's really easy to travel with. You can buy a case for it, stick it in a case with a phone, put it on the airplane, travel with it. You can take the battery out and then just set in the machine to make it lighter. It's very easy. I feel like it's light enough and is portable enough, so you can take it anywhere. We use it at track meets. We've used it at the last 4 or 5 track meets. So you can take it to track meets, pull it out, in a small space, do your pre-meet or pre-race, go through your pre-race protocols, put it up, and it's out the way. It's not a really big device, but it handles it functions like a big device, but handles like a very small device. How has the convenience of the T-Apex influenced your training consistent? So with it being easy to transport and easy to use, we can use it every day because it's so easy to put in the spots that we need it. And then going through our pre-meet or our pre-race protocols is very easy to take one to a track meet, put it out there, have my sprinters go through their pre-race protocols, and then put everything back up. So the ease of use has made pre-meet prep and pre-race prep very easy and very consistent. So I can look at power outputs right before they race, and it's like, all right, your power output is a lot higher than it was the last time you raced. So I feel like you'll probably PR in this race because the power output looks a lot better. Or if it's similar to what you did, the last time you raced, you're like, hey, you'll probably be, within this range, probably within, 500s to, a couple tenths. Well, maybe like a tenth of a second, between 500s and a tenth of a second. you can pretty much guesstimate, because so we've done it at 4 or 5 track meets, so you can kind of see within a certain range kind of where your athletes will be at if they're hitting the same metrics on the same exact protocols before their races. So it helps with kind of, well, not guesstimating, but being a little bit more accurate in what you see your athletes will run at their particular track meets. Any relevant accomplishments or awards, performance data. So using the T-Apex, a couple of my girls, one girl improved her 55-meter dash time by 0.4 of a second, which is a lot in that such a short race, but it really helped her acceleration pattern, getting steps down a lot more forceful and quicker, so she's able to push her hips out more, set up her races a lot better. Had another girl drop 0.2 of a second within 2 months, I think, month and a half, 2 months. I had my boys drop between 500s and 0.2 of a second within that same time period. So the T-Apex is it's a really great device for helping set up accelerative patterns. I had a basketball kid, we had him doing plyometrics on using the T-Apex. His father said his vertical improved by like 5 inches. So before he got to me, he trained with me for about 2 weeks. Before he got to me, he was barely grabbing the net. After he trained with me for 2 weeks, he was dunking in his games, or that's what his father told me. So his rate of improvement was really good. So we kind of unlocked some hidden potential there. So T-Apex is great for pretty much anything. We use it for our recovery days, so you can go through a lot of different protocols with light resistance to still keep everything engaged, but not overdoing it. So feedback and suggestions. Do I have any feedback or suggestions for improving the T-Apex? Do I have any suggestions? I would like to see another zone for the zone change resistance. Right now it's only 1 zone change. I would like to see 2 zone changes. Overspeed, there's actually 10 zone changes. I understand that it may not be that difficult to add another zone change to the resistance, but I would like to see that. As far as data collection, so I would like to see the PDFs automatically generated and saved. Like once a rep is complete, or you do like automatic save, have the PDF file automatically generate instead of having to go through all the different steps to save the PDF. Just have it just like the Excel file automatically generates. Just have the PDF do the same thing, go into its folder. That way you can see where the PDF, you can see the PDF file without having to favorite it and then save it and then go into another folder and find it and all that. Just have it saved automatically, and that way it's going to be in the same spot every single time instead of having to do it for every single rep. And then so the historical data seems incongruent. It's inconsistent. So it looks like the primary way to look at historical data is by meters per second. So if you have an athlete that's done 20 or 30 reps, it's not going to be in chronological order. So with the historical data, I would suggest having the primary thing as going by date instead of meters per second, because if it goes by date, then hey, it would be a more accurate representation of what the athlete actually went through instead of with meters per second. So say if I did resistance and their resistance is at 6.7 or 7.5 or 5.4, depending on how heavy the resistance is. Say we did that in August. Then in September, we start doing overspeed. So it's going to be a big difference in meters per second from overspeed and resistance. And then say the next week or the next month, we go back down. It's going to look like that. But the way the historical data sets it up is it usually goes from low to high, or no. Yeah. It either goes from low to high or high to low. But it doesn't do it in chronological order. It just does it by meters per second. So it just looks like it's all over the place. So if you could have some consistency with that, that would be awesome. What else? I think that's all I got for now. Would I recommend the T-Apex to friends and family? Yes, I would. I think I've recommended it to everybody I've talked to. And I've talked to a lot of people about using it. So is hands down one of the best tools that you can probably have in your arsenal, because it combines several different things: overspeed, resistance, the overload function, so it simulates heavy sled pulling or pushing or whatever. So it's a lot of great qualities in it, and I would definitely recommend it to any athlete or coach that's trying to enhance their training ability or coaching ability, or just adding a tool to their toolkit that'll help them get athletes better and kind of elevate their coaching ability. I would definitely recommend it. It's hands down probably one of the best tools that we have in our arsenal. So I love it. I recommend it. Great product. And like I said, my name is Brandon Isaac, the Speed Architect. Speed Apex is a great device. It has helped us tremendously over these past several months. Hopefully I can get another one in the next several months. So I appreciate it.